That wasn't me. That was not me. DJ Nation fam, what is going on? What is happening, man? We take a week off. If you guys are listening to this, God bless you, because you're probably getting better airways. So like, what the hell's going on right now? But for those of you guys who are watching, just your regular old technical difficulties here on the channel. 2021 NFL free agency preview. We're coming at you, and I finally am able to get on the chat here and in the thing. Can't have the intro video playing. So Kev's going to be in my DMs late tonight, probably being reprimanded or something. I'll have to send a care package to KC. But I digress. Ryan Williams here at Ryan Alexander _W is where you can find me on Twitter, joined by the DJ Nation fam, the usual co-host that I got with me, Kevin Steele himself, the Godfather Child, please, at FantasyRad13, and Matty Dickinson, Matty DFS is where you can find him on Twitter. The Rambler, I guess, or what is it? Monologue Man is here with you guys. Rambler, Monologue Man. There's so many different names that have come up, but we're having a fun off season with you guys, talking best ball content with you guys. Obviously, the Fantasy Authority channel has been lit on the YouTube stream, on the podcast software, on the website, with everything Dynasty, breaking down players for you guys. And of course, we got to get into the free agency preview show here, as we're going to be doing a live fantasy or a live free agency show with you guys next week at the start, next Wednesday. It's going to be lit. Your usual suspects that you're used to seeing with the Fantasy Authority, along with some guests that we'll just wait to. You guys got to tune in on Wednesday to see who those guests are going to be. So we can't wait to chop it up with you guys. It's going to be fun. I already see people in the chat. Shout out to Ashton. Shout out to Walito. Let's let it ride, boys. We're talking about the free agency as it is with the NFL. We got a lot of moves. I think this is going to be one of the most exciting free agency periods that we've had in quite some time, right?
Yeah, the best free agent in the league right now, Keelan Cole. He's still out there for a team to come in and swoop in and snag him up. So I'm interested to see where he goes. He's DJ and Fam original a couple years ago in the preseason. We were kind of all over him. Yeah, he's an OG. That's the word I was looking for. He's an OG. I'm excited to see where some of these big names land, as well as some of these smaller names, that can have some fantasy impact.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it really. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. The two quarterbacks. Are we going to see Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson traded? Do you guys think they get dealt? It sounds like Deshaun Watson is more and more every day that it's going to be a lock that he gets traded. I still think Russell Wilson is a long shot to get moved, but he's out here posting cryptic tweets. And, of course, Bears fans are eating that shit up and, hoping that he gets traded to Chicago. I know you're a Bears fan. You reside in Chicago in the Chi. So what are they saying in Chicago right now? Are people just offering their firstborn for Russell Wilson to get traded to the Bears? I mean, what's going on there?
Dude, Kev, I gotta send you this clip. I think Danny Parkins tweeted it out. Your boy Danny Parkins from KC, now here on the Chicago airways for Chicago Sports Radio. He's been cracking me up on Twitter because the Chicago callers have been going absolutely nuts over Russell Wilson, just from the sense of it's very polarizing. Like, there's people who will call in to Chicago Sports Radio and be like, there's absolutely no way you can trade Khalil Mack. You can't trade any first rounders to get a 32-year-old Russell Wilson. And it's just like, what? Like, I can't even fathom that people are still riding this ship that we need to be holding on to draft picks as if, like, first of all, first round draft picks mean nothing in Chicago with Ryan Pace at the helm, because we haven't done anything with those in quite some time. So listen, you have a chance to get Russell Wilson or a franchise quarterback, let alone whoever it is. I mean, you need to be offering up the farm for him. But some people still, and maybe it's because how badly things have gone at the quarterback position, right? I mean, you're talking about Cade McNowns of the world, Jim Millers of the world, Brian Greasy out of his prime, Kyle Orton, Rex Grossman. Smoking Jay Cutler. Hey, Jay, put some respect on Jay's name when he's here in Chicago. That's probably one of the best trades that we've had in my lifetime with the Bears. It didn't pan out, so to speak, but that's how
passed
bad.
On Mahomes and Watson.
Could
already had Watson.
Passed on Mahomes. Passed on Watson.
Hey,
wild,
pour one out
man.
for Ryan Pace, though. He will always be my dog for not taking Pat Mahomes. He will always. Thank you for making the wrong decision.
Oh man, yeah, he definitely. He definitely. You can send him a gift basket, Kev, for sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously, even the fact that he's on the list, whatever that list may be, or if it's imaginary or fake, whatever. I mean, the fact that there's even ties to Chicago for Russell Wilson, like if you would have told me what's more likely, a global pandemic or Russell Wilson coming to the Bears, I would have felt like a global pandemic 10 times out of 10. Just doesn't seem feasible. But yeah, we definitely would love to have him in Chicago. I see Walito in the chat, hashtag free Allen Robinson. We don't need to free him if he's got Russell throwing to him. So that would be nice. I can't imagine that, they are putting the franchise tag on Allen Robinson and going into this year. Everything's been talked about those two guys, Pace and Nagy, being on the hot seat. So they know that they need to do something. I know that there were talks earlier on that they should be trying to trade for Deshaun. I don't think that's even remotely in the realm of possibility for them to do, but they definitely can throw together a package to get Russell Wilson if he is on the table. I think that it's way more likely we probably see Wilson move than Deshaun. I just don't really know what's going on in the Houston situation with new people being the new coach there and new people at the top. I just really don't think they want to let him go. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But what are your feelings, Matty?
So there was a press conference that was done recently. It was either today or yesterday out of Houston. And, they just kept talking about, we want guys who want to be here to fill our team and saying all this stuff. It just sounded like the writing was on the wall that they were going to trade Watson. But I mean, like you're saying, man, when you've got a generational quarterback talent, you do everything you can to acquire that guy. And when you have him, you do everything you can to keep that guy. So first, I want to say shout out to the Cowboys for realizing that and signing Dak to an extension, signing him to a deal and getting that done and no longer playing the franchise tag game with him. But so they realize that they have that in house and that's the path they're going to go down. So I don't know what Houston would be doing trading Watson, but I mean, if he's, and it's not part of Watson's character either to if he's not happy, he's not going to show up and not work. Like that's not who Deshaun Watson is. Like he's going to give it his all, no matter whether he wants to be in Houston or not. So I don't think that's anything Houston would have to worry about. But with losing Will Fuller, not really having much of an offensive line to protect him, trading away DeAndre Hopkins 2 years ago, which was abysmal in and of itself. But it's like the Texans right now just are not pieced together to make a run, even with Watson at the helm. So it's like, if you're ever going to trade him, now is the time to do it and just stockpile as much as you can and just go full on rebuild. I mean, their roster, they just let JJ Watt go.
Right.
It's like their roster right now it just screams rebuild. And if there was ever going to be a time for Houston to make a deal to get rid of Watson, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah. And they're trying to keep Watson, and I see Walito in the chat, and we talked about this pre-show. Like, they signed fucking Mark Ingram. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way in hell that I am signing any running back. I'm losing Will Fuller. I'm going to Deshaun and being like, hey, dude, like, we understand the old regime was shit. We're trying to work with you here. We want you on the team. There's a plethora of wide receivers. Who can we give you to stay here? Not fucking Mark Ingram, who basically didn't see the field in Baltimore. And Kev, I know you have lots of thoughts on Mark Ingram, and I love the boy Mark Ingram. He's been good for us for fantasy for quite some time. But over 30 or you're a running back who's not seeing the field after you just traded for not them, but another regime traded for David Johnson, getting rid of one of the weapons that Deshaun had. It's like, how is that not looking eerily similar to Deshaun when he's, looking at how he's, being treated by the team?
Yeah, I mean, they've screwed up the whole thing from the jump. I mean, from all the moves they've made over the last couple of years, and while that may not be the old regime's fault, but I still think that the biggest problem, it sounds like, is just the ownership, right? The ownership issues, the shit going on with Jack Esterby, who's a chaplain, and so for whatever, from the little bit I've seen from it, like they basically let this guy have all this say in the organization and all this power, and and I guess from what even guys all the way back from like Andre Johnson, like how many years ago was that, has talked about this guy being a problem and everything else, and like it's sad too, because like I mean, like to get a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who is arguably a top 3-4 quarterback in all of football, and just blowing it like this, like teams search for this year over year over year over year. I mean, look at Chicago, good example.
Right? Yeah,
Kansas City, the same way. Before we had Patrick Mahomes, I lived my entire life of watching these retread garbage ass quarterbacks every year. You get just close enough to make the playoffs. You may make the playoffs, but you get your ass kicked the first round, knocked out every year. To finally get that franchise quarterback like Deshaun Watson, you do everything you can to surround that guy with as much talent, with as much offensive weaponry that you can. And they've done the complete opposite, and they have just destroyed the team. They have no resources. They should have the number 3 overall pick, which could bring them all kinds of different things. But they traded that for Laramie Tunsil, and then they traded DeAndre Hopkins, which again is not the guy's here problem, but still overall, like it just continues to be this. And then when you try to, the only piece you have, like literally the only guy you have on the roster is Deshaun Watson. The rest of the roster is pretty much trash, right? And they, he asked to be involved in the process, which, maybe, but just do him a solid. Do him a solid. Okay, fine. You can be involved. You're not going to make the final decision, but you can be involved with the coach or whatever we're looking for. Do something like that, and they don't even do that. So it's just a complete train wreck, and they don't deserve Deshaun Watson, to be honest with you. And I mean, I think of all, he's definitely, I would say, I would put it probably a 60-70% chance that he's going to get moved. Like at this point where we're at, like there's no going back anymore. Like I don't see how you can go back and repair this at this point. Like it is beyond repair. Now you go and you get a king's ransom, and you're going to look like an idiot unless you can land a franchise quarterback in the next couple of years. Because if you can't,
right.
I mean, you're going to be talking about this for years to come of how you blew this, and you had Deshaun Watson, and and now he's on another team, and whether that's Miami. Because I could see them trading him to Miami, getting Tua, who is still young, which I think Tua is not it. I don't think that he is. I know it's only 1 year. Maybe it's not enough time. But I don't think that he's it. Because you're going to send whoever there. So if it's Tua, he's going to be there with nobody. It's going to be Brandon Cooks, right? And Kiki Kuti, I guess, is still there. And that's all the weapons they're going to have.
Mark Ingram.
Oh, Mark Ingram.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And that's definitely going to be something to watch there. For both teams. I mean, and even, we were talking about Seattle just from the Bears standpoint, but Russell not wanting to be there. I mean, that's definitely huge. And, we've been doing these best ball shows and things like that, and people don't want anything to do with Seattle right now, which is just crazy. We're thinking about a couple months ago, from DFS about how explosive that offense was with Russ at the helm, let Russ cook, Russ MVP season, DK's going off, Lockett's putting up 3 touchdown games, 4 touchdown games. That would just be absolutely wild to think about, a Seattle team that's going to be led by somebody other than Russell Wilson. And who would that be? I just think that team immediately loses all of its identity with the question marks that they have on defense too. It would just be crazy. And meanwhile, the rest of the NFC West is making moves right underneath you too. So
it's time to fire. Pete Carroll should have been fired a long time ago. He's passed. He's done. Like let's move on. Let's find a different way. Let's bring somebody else in there. But that's just another situation that they continue to give this guy the opportunity to coach every year. And this team does the same thing every year. I mean, since their Super Bowl run, whenever Russ was under his rookie contract, you could do those things. But since then, they haven't been able to do anything. It's been the same. It's almost the same team every year. And same thing. He's got DK Metcalf now. They were able to hit on him in free agency, but they've never surrounded him with an offensive line ever. He's always running for his life. It's crazy. And, it's all he's asking for is a little protection. And I don't know. They don't seem to want to do it. So, but I would be more surprised at this point that if Russell Wilson got traded. I will say that.
I agree.
Yeah. And, sticking on quarterbacks too, I mean, there's still a big piece that it really, I feel like, goes untalked about with Drew Brees. And, what's happening in New Orleans? Like, is he going to retire or not? And are they going to be, Jameis is a free agent. What are they going to do at the quarterback position? Are we going to see Taysom Hill take over, Sean Payton's boy, the son he never had? That's kind of crazy to me, because I feel like the two at the top have completely, overshadowed that position. But that's another thing we have to address, because depending on who the quarterback there is in New Orleans could change a lot. Like, what does that mean for Alvin Kamara? What does that mean for can't guard Mike, slant guard Mike? It's crazy to think about, what that looks like for not fantasy, but just the, Saints in general. Kev, what are your thoughts there on Drew Brees?
I don't know why he hasn't. I'm confused as why he hasn't announced his retirement yet. They restructured his contract basically down to $1 million or something like that, which was basically for him to retire. That way they don't absorb all that, because if he just would have retired, they still would have owed him all that money, and he would have been hit against the cap for that. So wow. I'm surprised that he hasn't been that he hasn't. I don't exactly know what's going on. There really hasn't been any talk about that either, about Drew Brees whatsoever.
Does he have cold feet?
Like, I don't know. I don't know if he hasn't officially come to that decision yet. I don't know, but I feel like if I'm the Saints, I would kind of want him to retire. I think that he's still serviceable, but I don't think he's the answer. He can't really throw down the field very much anymore. He doesn't have that gun that he used to have, and so I think they're kind of a little bit more of a one-dimensional team, and I think they'd be better suited, going with a quarterback like Jameis Winston, which is probably crazy to say, but and right now, because they're going to have to make a decision, because Jameis Winston is a free agent. So, he can go anywhere he wants. He doesn't, I know there's been a lot of talk, and it's kind of almost like people are just expecting him to return to New Orleans, because that was kind of the talk at the end of the season, that they kind of told him, I guess, a little bit that they, would like him to return and be the quarterback. But he has all the leverage, because, he could go to a lot of these other places, right? He could go to New England if he wanted to, which I would hate that. But he could go to Chicago. I think that would be a spot, because if they're not able to make a trade, who are they going with? Is Chicago going with Nick Foles? Please God no.
I don't think they can afford to. I don't think they can afford to. So, but again, you got to do what's left, and they might be in a position, left eating crow, as they usually do. But we got Santos locked up.
They haven't ruled out Trubisky yet either. They haven't ruled out bringing him back. Right?
True. That is true. Right? Yeah. Exactly. But what if Belichick comes in and swoops in and gets Trubisky? Because what are they doing there in New England?
That's true.
It's crazy. There's a lot of offenses that could look completely different. Matty, I'll open the floor up for you. You feel free to chime in on the Drew Brees situation too. But what else at the quarterback position is kind of sticking out to you? There's some other, name, like we just touched on Trubisky, where does he go, or what do the Patriots do? I know Jimmy G's been talked about, potentially, them trying to pry him from San Francisco if they go a different route. What else is sticking out to you at the quarterback position as we get into free agency preview?
So one that might not be sexy, but a landing spot I'm curious about is Washington. They have a very good defense that we saw last year. That front seven is pretty nasty. So that's what kept them in a lot of games. And really it was their quarterback play that held them back for most of the year. And Alex Smith didn't play horrible, but he's not great by any means. So he's more of a game manager, which is what their defense was set up to allow them. But you've got weapons in that offense. You've got McLaurin, you've got Gibson at the running back position. Even Logan Thomas showed that, he can, if with high volume, obviously, but that he could produce at the tight end position. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what quarterback is going to come into that Washington system. Do you guys think that there's a possibility of a reunion with Ron Rivera and Cam Newton, or you think they just go a completely different route and try to find somebody else to fit there? Because I think that Washington can be some sort of contender if they get somebody solid under center.
I think if I am Washington, and the only real option you have is either going with a Jameis Winston. I don't think you bring Cam Newton in. I think we saw last year. I just don't think you do that.
I agree.
But I think you could go with somebody like Jameis, even as a 1-year stopgap. Maybe even a Mitchell Trubisky on a 1-year deal. But that's not exciting either. I think they could. I think there is going to be a team that we are all surprised about come NFL draft day that trades up like the Chiefs did a couple of years ago to come up and get Patrick Mahomes, right? Where the Chiefs kind of had all these pieces in place, and they just needed that quarterback, and they went up and got Pat Mahomes. Like, I think you could realistically see that for Washington and come up, and maybe it's a Mac Jones or something like that falls a little bit, falls in the 10, 11, 12 range, somewhere in there, and they trade up and get their guy. Because I think that's probably the best case scenario that they possibly could have. Because right now, I don't think they're in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Maybe they could, but I just don't think that's probably a good spot for them, or somewhere I think that they would go. So to me, I think the most likely landing spot is either going with one of these stopgap quarterbacks for a year. Again, I guess Taylor Heineke's there too, but I don't think that's a realistic possibility. Or they take one of these quarterbacks and they figure out a way to trade up and grab one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Heineke is more of a one-game wonder kind of deal, I think, for him. I mean, the dude's been a journeyman. He hasn't even been in the NFL his whole career. He's like been a backup in these secondary leagues, and it's just like he played out of his mind that one game. What was it, against the Steelers? And it's like,
it was against the Bucs.
Against the Bucs, that's right.
Yeah,
it was the playoff game, the wild card game.
Playoff game. Right,
yeah.
You're right.
They had just played the Steelers close a couple weeks before that. I don't think Heineke's the answer. The deal they signed Heineke to was for pennies on the dollar. It wasn't very big, so it wasn't anything that indicated, that he's their guy moving forward. So, yeah, I think, if they're thinking of contending, it's not going to be Heineke. I'm very curious to see what they end up doing here in the next few weeks.
If they brought in somebody like Jameis to be the starting quarterback, how would you feel about the other options they had there? Because I feel like if they wanted to do that and they stayed where they're at, they took Jameis, where they're selecting in the draft, because they need another wide receiver. They have nothing past Terry McLaurin, right? It's Steven Sims, Cam Sims. It's just a bunch of nobodies, right, for the most part. And so they need another wide receiver. I know they took, I believe, Antonio Gandy-Golden late in the draft last year or whatever, but I'm not really worried about him either. This is a really, really deep wide receiver class. And I think if you took a wide receiver, maybe like a Rondell Moore or Terrace Marshall, Rashad Bateman would definitely be there to go alongside Terry McLaurin. But then you bring in a Jameis Winston. I think that wouldn't be the worst way to go, especially with that defense and how good that defense is. Hopefully Jameis Winston has learned something from Drew Brees and Sean Payton from sitting behind them in that offense, sitting a year, kind of, being humbled a little bit. I think that could actually be a nice landing spot for him if he does not return to the Saints. Because if Drew Brees comes back, I'm not signing with the Saints if I'm Winston. I'm going to get a starting job somewhere.
Right. And he probably would be in a position to do so as well.
And I would love that for Terry McLaurin, because like Jameis Winston, to me, I don't care. I know he may not be the best real NFL quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, he's gold. He prints.
Oh yeah.
If McLaurin can smash with the QBs he's had in Washington, Haskins and Alex Smith and the carousel of Kyle Allen and Heineke, McLaurin would absolutely just wreck things with a guy like Winston under center. I agree. I think they're a wide receiver and a quarterback away from being a very, very dangerous offense. And we already know they have the defense on the other side of the ball. I know they played in the NFC, they play in the NFC East. So, some of those games get sloppy, but when you play against teams like the Cowboys, it's not like the Cowboys have bad offense. They just don't have a defense either. I think Washington's a very interesting landing spot for any QB. Just because the makeup of their team allows them to be in win now mode if they get the right pieces around them.
Yeah.
So from Tomb King Kingdom of Games, I don't know if that's recent that the Saints, because I think that was kind of early on when the Russell Wilson thing came out, right? That they were kind of a team that was rumored to be interested in him.
I think it wasn't that Russ had said that there was 4 teams he was interested in. They were on his list.
I know that too. Yeah, he was on their list as well. I mean, if Russell Wilson went to the Saints, yes, they're automatically a Super Bowl favorite. Like no question, right? But I don't think they have the assets to be able to acquire him. to be honest with you. I guess unless you're giving up like 5 years of first round picks, and I still don't know. Because like the tough part that you fall in with Seattle is like you still have a pretty decent roster and enough pieces to like make the playoffs, but with you remove Russell from that equation, they are absolute trash. And
their defense isn't good enough.
Their defense is a mirage. Like a lot of people thought like late last year, like, oh man, their defense is getting better and better. Go Google the quarterbacks they played during that stretch. They were straight garbage. Like their defense isn't good, and so. That's the problem. Like it's Russ. Like Russ is the single most important piece on that team. You move him off that, and I want nothing to do with DK Metcalf. I want nothing to do with Tyler Lockett next year in fantasy. Like no, thank you. I'm out on that because he makes them. So I don't think Saints is a realistic landing spot for him because here's the other problem too. Like if you're the Saints and you're trading Russell Wilson, like I think this is the other part of it is. I would want to trade with a team that is picking high, so you have an opportunity. Maybe if you want, you could draft a Justin Fields. Like if you wanted to trade him to the Jets, for example, right? Okay, now I get the number 2 overall pick. I could take Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, whoever's there. It's still not Russ, and you're still taking that gamble. But at least you can get that top end quarterback that a rookie quarterback to go with. Like if you're trading with the Saints, I mean, you're getting the pick in the late 20s, and you're getting no quarterback whatsoever with that. So I think at least just for this year, that pick just doesn't really help.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these things play out. I think we hit on a lot of the open positions at quarterback. I guess the one other thing too is how do we feel about the Jets? Like, I mean, because they're sitting there at the number 2 pick as well. So I know there's been ties with them to getting Deshaun Watson. I think he might have even been on a list for him wanting to go to New York or something like that. Are they better? Are they better suited to stick with somebody to draft at 2, which would most likely be Justin Fields, or maybe somebody else is on their radar, or should they be trying to move some of these assets to just bring in Deshaun and figure out the rest from there?
I don't think you can really go wrong with either route. I mean, the way that the Jets roster is right now is they're pretty young all the way around. So like just sliding in the number 2 overall pick in Fields and not having to give up any other picks, because if you're going to get Watson, you're going to have to give up multiple picks. The number 2 is going to be included, but you're going to likely, like, you're looking at 2nd round pick, maybe a future draft picks in future years. It's going to be other pieces not just the number 2 overall. So it's not as simple as just, would you rather have Watson or Fields? But I mean, the way that their roster is set up, I think that Fields kind of makes sense. Assuming that's who they like it to, maybe it's Zach Wilson or whoever that they like. Just based on their roster construction, I think just sliding in a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal that you get control over for 4 years, 5 years? It's because that really is the key to winning championships in the NFL for multiple years, is having a very, very good quarterback on a rookie deal. We saw the Seahawks do it with Russell Wilson. The Chiefs were just doing it with Patrick Mahomes until he signed his mega extension, because that allows you to fill in the pieces, the expensive pieces of the roster around that really good quarterback. Like you can pay for top dollar wide receivers or go get a top cornerback, shutdown cornerback on the other side of the ball. And so really is the key to winning championships in the NFL, is having that really good quarterback on a rookie deal. So with that being said, I mean, I don't feel like the Jets become automatic contenders right away if they were to trade for Watson. So why not just try to build a guy where you only have to burn 1 pick instead of going to get Watson, who probably gives you a 4-year window to win now. And I just don't know that the roster makes sense to give up that much for it.
Yeah, because I mean they have Denzel Mims, who I love, but I mean he's unproven at this point. But
he's a 2nd-year guy.
Yeah, but past that they still have Jameis and Crowder, but they have no running back, so they have a lot of holes they need to fill. Now they have quite a bit of cap space as well, so they could, if they could make this trade in time, maybe go out and grab a Kenny Golladay or some of these other wide receivers we'll talk about. But I thought if you can make the trade and you can do it, like you trade for Deshaun Watson 100% of the time, and I will sell on the rookies, right? Because getting somebody like Deshaun is because any one of these rookie quarterbacks could bust, right? Like they're in a complete unknown. And so we know what Deshaun Watson is, and he's still really young. I mean, it's not like we're talking about 30-year-old or 32 like Russell Wilson. He's 26? He's right there in the same age range of Patrick Mahomes. So that would be that's for me where I would want to rather not do that. I would make that move. And it's going to take both their first, because they have 2 first-round picks this year. It's going to take multiple seconds. It's going to take probably 3 or 4 first to make that move happen, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so
that's why I said you're mortgaging everything.
But it's worth it, because if you go through teams' history of first-round picks, there are so many busts in there, right? Where it's easy to say, "Oh man, I don't want to give up that move, or I don't want to give up those picks," right? Because I think that's a lot of fans' mindset of, "I don't want to give up these picks. I don't want to give up these picks," and I get it because of like the unknown of what those picks could turn into. But if you can trade for a known commodity at quarterback that's 25, 26, 27 years old, still very young, at least 10 years left of, really high upside of being able to end the playoffs every year. The Jets, when's the last time the Jets were even relevant? And so like you get that opportunity and you take that, you start filling in the rest of the roster and you figure it out from there. And so I just don't think that you could pass on Deshaun Watson if it was sitting there for him.
Yeah, and I agree with you too, Kev. Ironically, because we never agree. But you're looking at a Jets team there, Matty, where Sam Darnold, he was on the rookie deal with them. Like that obviously didn't work out for you. Jamal Adams, a first-round pick for you. You ended up getting rid of him. I just feel like let's get the certainty there, because the Bills aren't going anywhere in that division, right? They got a young quarterback with Josh Allen. So you're at least competing with them. Who knows what the Patriots are going to do, but Belichick's still there. So you got to do something that's going to be able to compete with them to be winning. And, I think it's fine. They do have other needs, but yeah, like Kev saying with the cap, if they can make some other moves to get some pieces, like the quarterback just makes all of the difference in the world. I mean, look at Tampa Bay with Brady. I mean, bringing him in, and we're not even, Brady's the GOAT as far as rings go, but when you're talking about a talent that Deshaun has and how he can compete with weapons on his team too, I mean, that's just so dynamic. It's tough to pass up on that sure thing. Let's move it along, because we did spend a lot of time with the quarterback position, but obviously, a lot's at stake there for some of these teams in some of these situations, and we could come back to that at the end if we missed anything. But I do want to actually skip over. We normally go through the positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. But let's go to the wide receiver position, because there's so much here to digest and look at, and it's honestly more fun than the running back position. So I think we'll spend a lot more time here. But we're looking at guys: Kenny Golladay, Juju, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, a guy like Corey Davis, who kind of, caught fire there towards last season and really, was coming into his own, what people thought he would be when he was coming out as a prospect, and other guys, that like a T.Y. Hilton, where does he land? Antonio Brown, who's a little bit older, but showed that he still had something in the tank. And a lot of other names here at the bottom too that could be interesting. So what's going on at the wide receiver position? Like, what can we expect? Are we waiting to kind of let the landscape, introduce itself with, you don't want guys to kind of land into spots before we see what they're doing at the quarterback position, because so many things could happen that some of these moves might not make sense, but definitely a lot of all-world talent here at the wide receiver position. So Matty, what sticks out to you for these guys, and maybe some team needs that you think these guys could end up in good spots?
Well, I will tell you the Steelers could use a slot wide receiver. So it's a shame they're letting Juju go. But no, I did mention this on one of our opening best ball shows that, I think Juju is pretty underrated. It may require him having that stud wide receiver like he had with Antonio Brown when Juju was smashing a couple years ago. But we've seen Juju's ceiling, and he can torch defenses from the slot, and I'm really interested to see where he's going to end up because he's been playing in this high pass volume offense with Pittsburgh, and he's got a lot of talent out of the slot. But I mean, if he goes to a low pass volume offense somewhere, then he doesn't really have the deep threat in his game. He's more of a possession receiver, yards after catch kind of guy. So, maybe he ends up somewhere like the Raiders. Like I would love to see him in Las Vegas. That's the kind of offense that he would thrive in. They're a little less on the pass volume than Pittsburgh was or has been, but that's the type of offense. They've got the speed guys on the outside. They've got Aguilar and Ruggs who can stretch the field deep. And I mean, they've been rolling out Hunter Renfrow in the slot, and so like adding a guy like Juju, that could really take the attention of some teams over the middle of the field and pair him with Darren Waller in the middle of the field. And all of a sudden the Raiders become a nasty offense. So I think that would be an interesting spot. And I'm also curious to see where Kenny Golladay ends up. I mean, we didn't really get to see him play football last year because of his injuries, but I mean, man, that dude is special. He's been one of the better young wide receivers in the NFL. It doesn't really matter where he goes, to be honest. Like, he's going to make an offense better immediately. So I really am curious to see where he goes. I want him to command wide receiver one attention in the offense, but at the same time, I think he could absolutely thrive as a number two. If, let's just say hypothetically he ended up in Green Bay somehow behind Devontae Adams, like that offense would be nasty. And even though he's not the wide receiver one there, the sky would be the limit for him in that offense. So yeah, I'm curious to see that. And also another big name, Will Fuller. Like what do these teams think of Fuller coming off a suspension for PEDs? And is that the reason Fuller was able to stay healthy this year? Because he was juicing up. So I don't know. It's wide receiver really is interesting. There's a lot to break down. I'll let you guys jump into some of the other names because there are so many. But yeah, those are three guys that I'm keyed on.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think Kenny Golladay, it sounds like there is a real good chance he's going to go to Miami. That's kind of been the early word that Miami's really interested and there's mutual interest there. They have a lot of money to spend. They need a wide receiver.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Devontae Parker's not it. I think
neither is Preston Williams.
Yeah. And so putting Kenny Golladay there, they have a war chest of draft picks here.
Yeah.
So if they decide to stick with Tua, they could surround him with all kinds of talent. I know they also probably could use a running back. I think they will upgrade somewhere, whether it's through free agency or it is through the draft. I know Myles Gaskin was good last year, but I don't think that he's really your long-term answer either. But Kenny Golladay, I think, would make sense to go there to Miami. And it sounds like that I'm not going to say it's a lock, but it sounds like from kind of what people are saying, that it sounds like we should expect Miami to be a really popular landing spot because
if they signed Gallaudet and then traded for Watson, I would go book a Super Bowl winning ticket right now on the Miami Dolphins.
I think that but they could, right? Because like I said,
they could.
What's funny too is that they would essentially just be giving back Houston's pick back to them in the trade for Deshaun Watson because number 3 is their pick. So yeah, no, but I think that is very well could, because if there's a team that's well suited to trade for Deshaun Watson, it's Miami with the massive amount of picks that they have. I think they have it's like 11 or 12 picks this year. They've just done an excellent job with stocking that team with everything they were doing early the last couple of years with just trading off all these assets and then acquiring everything. So yes, I think that would be a good spot. Will Fuller, Indy. I would love to see him go to Indy. I think with Carson Wentz being traded there, they have, I know a lot of people love Paris Campbell, but I think that could be more fantasy love than maybe what they think about him. I don't know. We'll see. But I think if they have Indy has a shitload of money too. They have like 40 or 50 million in cap space to spend. And so they just traded for Carson Wentz and they have Michael Pittman, who they drafted. They still probably need a tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a team that was interested in like a Hunter Henry or a Jonnu Smith or something like that. But I think putting Will Fuller there as that deep threat, I think would be something, because they don't really have, it sounds like probably T.Y. Hilton's probably going to leave. And so getting a deep threat like Will Fuller would make a lot of sense for them to do something like that. And then Juju, you said the Raiders, and I know that there was actually been some talk too that about the Raiders being interested in Juju Smith, but I think that would kind of hurt Darren Waller's fantasy upside, to be honest with you, because
it would
because of the slot.
Yeah, they would definitely share the middle of the field, but man, that offense would be fun. Like the Raiders would be good.
Yeah, but I mean they still have Derek Carr, so but I mean, but
that's the perfect offense for Carr though. Like
Carr's Juju Smith, Juju is a perfect wide receiver for Derek Carr and what Derek Carr looks to do.
Exactly.
Which is exactly what they should have done last year and not draft Henry fucking Ruggs, and they should have drafted Jerry Jeudy with that pick.
Yeah, I didn't get that one, but
that would have been a much better spot for him and what they look for. But I do think Juju makes some sense, especially for a guy that's trying to build his personal brand every single week. And, going to Vegas, would be a good spot for him to go. And so, I definitely could see him going there. Of the secondary, because there's a lot of really good secondary and pieces here, like Curtis Samuel. Like, where does he go? Like, put him in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and get creative with him. And with a lot what we've seen, like with Carolina last year, where him really taking another step forward. Because like he's going to be a guy that's going to need to go to an offense. If he goes to some bland, boring offense, I'm not going to be excited whatsoever. But if you get him in the right scheme and the right system, he can be a lot of fun. Like even somebody like Kansas City, I think would be a lot of fun too. Because Kansas City definitely needs a wide receiver. Because as of right now, it's Tyreek and then McCole Hardman, which ain't it. And that's it. Because Sammy Watkins is gone, DeMarcus Robinson's gone, Byron Pringle's a restricted free agent. So they're going to need another wide receiver. I think they probably addressed it through the draft, but if they wanted to pick up one of these guys, even a Keelan Cole, for example, who's still really young, and I think in the right offense could really take off as well. But Corey Davis, where he's going to go, it's just insane how many players, a wide receiver, running back, and tight end that's available.
Yeah, and Corey Davis actually was a guy I was thinking about for KC, Kev. I mean, it just seems like they could, get a discount on him. He just kind of seems like maybe he ends up there and a little bit older, for the wide receiver group there. Somebody that's been through it before. I don't know, but I was just looking at Corey Davis. I was like, man, this is somebody who might end up in KC. As far as the Indy thing, I thought that Kenny Golladay would be a great addition to Indy. For them, if they could somehow make that work with Wentz. I just worry about the arm there with Wentz, and will he be able to consistently hit that deep ball if they do get somebody there? But maybe there's a redundancy there in what Gallaudet and Pittman would do. But I think that would be awesome to get wide receiver help there for Indy for sure. Giving Wentz as many options as you can, and even upgrading at tight end would be huge for them, as he loves to run two tight ends sets, and Frank Reich loves to run two tight end sets as well too. So better than Mo Alley Cox and fucking Trey Burton and Jack Doyle, who they were running out there before. But yeah, like guys like Marvin Jones who are here in the middle. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders still has something left in the tank too. He could go somewhere and possibly do some things. We got a speedy guy like John Ross, who we haven't seen for pretty much a year almost, but I think he'll probably find himself in a good landing spot. But yeah, I mean, it really, I think the team that needs to be looking at this list is Green Bay. I mean, they have no excuse to not land one of these guys. Chris Godwin getting tagged. I thought Chris Godwin would have been a great addition to Green Bay and what they were doing, but he's now off the table. But they got to be looking at this list, and it's just like, my goodness, like just pick your poison. I mean, take one of these guys and definitely get Aaron Rodgers some help there. They can't roll out that same unit that they were doing the year before.
What about Jacksonville? Are they going to make some top end wide receiver additions to go with their number 1 overall pick?
Well, do they have one first rounder or two, Kev? They have two. I mean, I would love to see them.
They've got $70 million in cap space, 4th overall.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. Then I mean, you got Chark, you got Visca there, but I think I'm really curious about Jacksonville just as a whole, because you have a guy in Urban Meyer who is a college coach. I think that he probably was excited maybe to be building around a young team because these guys are all going to be fresh out of college that he's going to be bringing in. And so it would be just like, Urban Meyer taking a university to the NFL level. So I am curious to see how they attack things because he will have that rookie quarterback. He has a lot of young rookie talent all across the board. And with those 2 first-round picks, I thought it was, pretty much a foregone conclusion that they would draft one of these explosive rookies, in the first round. But then there is a lot of free agency talent here. So I'm not sure what they'll do, but I think they can't go wrong. If they don't land one of these guys in free agency, I think they're for sure going to draft somebody, and that will be awesome to see, who they're able to get. If it's, a guy like Chase or.
Why are you guys trying to block DJ Chark? Like, it's DJ Chark's takeoff season. Take off, spread your wings, wheels up. Okay, like I'm not trying to mock any like Kenny Golladay to go there. I'm not trying to ruin his chance. You want to bring somebody in, bring Keelan Cole back. Whatever you want to do, but don't block DJ Chark.
What about
DJ Chark season? Okay.
They could use a slot.
I think where they probably go is if I was them, I would try to figure out whatever you could do to get Hunter Henry to come there because they need a tight end. They have no tight end. They have
Josh Oliver.
They have the Oliver guy.
How dare you?
Yeah. So they need a tight end, but now
my thing is they got $70 million. You got to spend it somewhere.
Yeah, but
you can't take that money with you to the grave.
Well, no, because that defense is atrocious, Matty.
It is so bad. They need to spend on defense.
Big defensive moves there.
Like, like what Miami did? Because that's kind of what Miami did, right? They invested all that money on their defensive side of the
Byron
ball.
Jones.
Right. Yeah. Dude, and that was the other thing too when you brought up Miami, Matty. Like that would be so epic because they were doing it right down there in Miami, and like that defense is so fucking good. I mean,
it's nasty. Yeah,
like, it was so good for DFS purposes.
They were almost a contender with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like I don't think Tua is the guy either. But I mean, we've only seen half a season of him coming back off a nasty hip injury. But like, man, if you put Watson on that team and brought in a wide receiver. Because you just need one more wide receiver. But if you add Watson into that mix with that defense, give me you. I don't care what the Super Bowl odds are. I will gladly get a ticket that says Miami Dolphins Super Bowl.
Might be worth it to get ahead of the curve, man. Throw those skin on them just in case. But yeah, no. So yeah, wide receiver. Yeah, Jacksonville is interesting for sure. To see what they do. I mean, hey, Trevor Lawrence could be like Joe Burrow, and give him as many weapons as you can. Guy had Mixon, guy had Boyd, he had AJ Green to a certain extent, T. Higgins as a rookie. So I think the more weapons that you can give, a rookie quarterback coming in, the better. So definitely think they'll be making a push one way or another at the wide receiver position.
What do you guys think? Well, I guess so. Walito, appreciate the super chat.
Oh yeah. Shout out Walito.
Manny Sanders is on the marker right now. I haven't heard of his or this team yet. But what about San Fran? I don't think they need a wide receiver. I know you keep saying that you think they need one, but I mean they have Debo, they have Brandon Ayuk, which
is nasty
as a baller, is a straight
He's
baller,
a fucking baller.
I think they could use maybe a depth wide receiver, and I guess maybe that's what Manny Sanders could be. But we've already seen Manny Sanders on the 49ers. I mean, that's where he came from, right? Just 2
years ago.
Yeah,
they don't need to do anything.
I think if you were, but yeah, you're right. But if they brought in somebody like, I think John Brown would be a lot. They needed that. I think a deep threat burner. I think could be somebody that because Debo and Brandon Ayuk are great. Short intermediate route. Not that because Ayuk can certainly be a deep threat. Like he has the speed to do that, but. Like just a pure deep threat guy like a John Brown or a John Ross, something like that. A depth piece I think is probably what they need.
Marvin Jones would work.
Yeah, Marvin Jones I think could also fit there. So yeah. I think the team that maybe that could though really use another wide receiver as well would be the Rams.
They have zero money, but yes, I agree.
Like if they could get like a John Ross, I think would be super sneaky. Or they need the deep threat. Like Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp are more redundant assets. They're very good, short, intermediate route guys, and they could just eat you up underneath. But they don't have that true deep threat at all on that roster.
Or you could
Van Jefferson.
We keep saying his name, but you could pair Marvin Jones back up with Matt Stafford.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But I think they are a team that desperately needs that. Now, again, this draft is so deep with wide receiver, so they easily can do this through the draft and not do it through free agency either. But because this wide receiver draft is just as deep, if not deeper than last year.
Yeah, and the Rams have zero money. They're negative 32 on the cap space, which they'll restructure some deals and figure that out to get back in the positive. But I mean, they just don't really have much to play with.
Yeah. So, Walito, appreciate the super chat as always, my guy.
Yeah,
always. Let's talk about some of these running backs here at the running back position as we skipped over it. Again, another position that I'm just looking at these names. It's wild thinking about Aaron Jones and Chris Carson, Kenyon Drake, a guy who has been very polarizing in the fantasy community. Interesting to see where he could end up landing. And then you got even low key guys like Leonard for playoff Lenny, Super Bowl Lenny. He's going to be on the market. Phillip Lindsay. Marlon Mack, who's coming back from injury, a guy like James White, he might go to Tampa with Tom Brady. Tom Brady needs help with somebody catching passes for him. Gallaudet, who knows? Le'Veon Bell is going to be out there, and he's pretty much washed, I think, now. But
he's toast. He's done.
Yeah, he's done.
You got a guy like Jamal Williams too, who showed he had a little bit something in the tank. So does he go and handcuff somebody? A lot of stuff to digest here at the running back position. So, Kev, what sticks out to you? I mean, there's a lot of teams that have needs at running back position. I know Matty doesn't want to hear this because he's team Chase Edmonds all the way. But you got teams like Arizona, possibly Atlanta. Definitely could use running back help. Pittsburgh definitely could use running back help. Like where are you looking to have some of these guys land that makes it enticing for fantasy?
Well, I mean, I think Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Arizona are kind of the really fun spots. I think the ones that are going to have could have the biggest impact fantasy wise. I know with Arizona, maybe not as much because Chase Edmonds is there. Chase Edmonds is still going to have a role with whoever they bring in, and maybe they, if they opt to do so, maybe they bring in more of that, that first, second down kind of back where, you let Chase Edmonds continue to be that third down satellite back. Because I know that they just said Cliff Kingsbury this week said that they're perfectly confident in Chase Edmonds being the starter there. And I'm like, listen,
ooh, baby.
I don't know if I believe you, okay? Because he's not that. He's not a guy that can carry the full workload. He's more of an Aaron Jones type where you probably ask him to carry the ball or touch the ball 12, 15 times a game. You're going to need another back because they have nobody else. But I think they could easily address that in the draft. Maybe take a guy later in the third or fourth round and not have to sign somebody. But Aaron Jones is obviously the king of the crop here and the guy that is going to matter the most. It's funny because this week, especially on fantasy Twitter, it's been all about AJ Dillon. And now that they did not tag Aaron Jones, and I fully expect probably by either this weekend or early next week, we're going to see AJ Dillon in best ball drafts probably going in the top 10 to 15 running backs. Where you were getting that big discount on him at RB 28, 29, that is officially dead. I guess there's still a chance they could bring Aaron Jones back, but I highly doubt it at this point. I know there's been some talk about the mutual interest between him and Miami as well, and some other spots, but if Aaron Jones goes to Miami, I will really like that. I think that is a really good landing spot for him. I think you probably see him maintain somewhat of a similar role that he got in Green Bay, where he probably handles 65, 70% of the touches. You give the other 30% probably to Myles Gaskin. Because every running back produced behind that offense last year, behind that offensive line that they had last year, right? Myles Gaskin did.
That was a fun roulette that we played at Miami. Who's the starter this week? Who can we exploit this week for cheap with Myles Gaskin out? I can't even think of the guys' names. You were talking about two guys there all the time, Kev. Who are those guys in Miami?
I'm trying to think of his name. Who's the other? It's the other Washington running back, the other Husky.
Oh, is that Wayne?
Salvin Ahmed. That's what it is. Yeah.
Ahmed, yeah.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Boy.
He had a little run, but then Chris Carson, he seems like the perfect Pittsburgh running back, right? Everything Pittsburgh loves.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a 3-down back, bigger back, can handle the full workload there. But Pittsburgh doesn't have a whole lot of money to spend either, so I don't know. this is really Chris Carson's only shot probably to get a deal, right? Like he's not getting anything more than this, and he's not a guy that's going to command 10, 12 million a year. It's probably much more of a 5 to 8 million if he's lucky type of contract. Former 7th round pick, but Chris Carson, and then Kenyon Drake is Kenyon Drake, and then Leonard Fournette. Please don't go back to Tampa Bay, but that's always a possibility there. And right. Now, guys like James Conner, I think is interesting, but the dude just can never stay healthy throughout his entire career. But past that, it's a list of a bunch of guys that are just going to be like roster clogger types, right? I was seeing people talk about Wayne, like Giants fans talking about bringing Wayne Gallman back. He's an intricate part of the offense. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, Wayne Gallman, okay? He's a Jag. So with that, like Green Bay, right? Like I guess at least from the fantasy perspective of it, where do you guys now view AJ Dillon if they stay the same and AJ Dillon is the early down back? Let's say they bring Jamal Williams back, and that's the other running back that they bring back, and it's him and Jamal Williams. Where do you view AJ Dillon next year?
Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. He throws 50 touchdowns again. No, for real though. I mean, volume's king, right, at the running back position. And I mean, I would assume they bring back Jamal Williams if Aaron Jones doesn't come back, which it sounds like he's not going to. But I mean, I don't know. Like it's a tough question. Because I mean, AJ Dillon doesn't really catch passes, does he? So it's like if Green Bay ever gets down, does Dillon just get scripted off the field? And if that happens, who is the running back that comes in? Like, are they going to bring somebody in? Like, there's a guy like Jerick McKinnon out there who's a free agent that they could bring in instead of bringing Jamal Williams back. But it's like, do you just bring Williams back because he knows the system? And I mean, he didn't really give you an excuse not to bring him back.
Right.
I mean, he's not really – Williams isn't really good at – like great at anything, but he's very serviceable at everything. Decent pass protection, can catch the ball. Hard runner, but he's not really like great in any of those facets. But so it's like, do you want a guy like that, or do you want somebody like Jerick McKinnon, who's definitely much better in the pass game, can provide that speed spark, whereas Dillon is more of a bruiser who doesn't really catch passes. So I don't know. I tend to get weary of guys like Dillon who profile out to be just a 1 and 2 down back who really are going to rely on rush volume to have a ton of success. Because I mean, that one game he smashed, he ran the ball 28 times or something ridiculous. In the snow against Tennessee when Aaron Jones was not really playing. So it's like those are the games he has to have to really, really crush over the course of the season. And I just don't know that Aaron Rodgers lets that happen.
Okay, so for me, like with AJ Dillon, like I think that he's probably a borderline top 12 running back next year if he's a starter.
Oh my God,
I can't.
That's dangerous. But he is not a pass catching back, right? Like I'm just trying to speak.
So it's tough because at Boston College, like if you were just to look at his box score and look and see it, you'd be like, man, he didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't utilized in the pass game, but they didn't pass the ball. Like literally, and I'm trying to remember because I remember looking into this last year at first because people were talking, oh, he doesn't catch passes. He doesn't catch passes. He doesn't utilize the pass catcher. But then I went and looked at the Boston College like their pass attempts, and they were averaging like 110 pass attempts per game, right? Or per season. And it was like, what the fuck? Like their leading wide receiver had like 19 receptions. Their number one wide receiver.
But at the same time,
he had like 15 receptions. Now, am I saying that he's like an elite pass catcher? No, not at all.
I mean, he had 2 targets this year. 2. Well, like 46 carries and 2 targets.
Yeah, but he rarely got to play. Now, again, am I saying that he's not? He's going to have to be like a Derrick Henry type, right? Like that's what he's going to have to be. But in this offense with Aaron Rodgers and his touchdown upside is so high because you're playing with Aaron Rodgers, and who's going to get all the touches on the goal line? Him. And so it is tough, because he does not catch passes. It depends on where he was going. Like you could probably get him in fantasy drafts, like in season long, like 3rd round. I would probably be okay with it. But if he goes like if it jumps the ship and or the tracks, whatever the saying is, but if he flies up and he's like a late first, early second, no, I'm out on that because I can't do running backs. I don't have any pass catching upside. But if you get him in the right value range, if he does come in somewhere in that, like I said, third round territory, I would probably a little bit more of a buyer at that point because right there you're talking about like RB 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe even 20 by that point.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I just can't really. I don't think I can justify, giving him the same draft capital that I would have gave Aaron Jones last year. So Aaron Jones is by far way more efficient with his touches and much heavier used in the pass game.
Well, and Matty, I think the funny thing to me about seeing the AJ Dillon stuff, and Kev, this isn't you, but we've had this conversation a ton about Aaron Jones, who the three of us all love. And it was Aaron Jones never got the respect I felt like that he deserved. Like people did not want to treat him like the back that he was. And it was because most of the game production that he really blows up in, that's when Davante Adams wasn't on the field. When he would have his explosive, like 3 touchdown games and 100 yards rushing and 80 yards receiving, like that would be without Adams on the field. And he was looked to be the main offensive weapon. And so now you have an AJ Dillon who doesn't really offer that upside. And I'm seeing in the chat, talk about the AJ Dillon conversation. It's like, well, how can you pass on a guy who's going to get a ton of touchdowns? And it's like, we don't know that he's going to get a ton of touchdowns. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is still at the helm, this is a team that still likes to throw the ball in the red zone. They still like to.
Didn't he lead the league in like pass attempts inside the 5 or something? He was up there near the top.
I mean, just think about the playoff games when they're trying to hit Davante Adams.
Davante Adams had so many 1-yard touchdown catches. He is their goal line running back.
And so I think that it's tough to trust that now for best ball purposes. Like at this point now, sure, it's worth the risk, but I would not be surprised. Just in the general from the Green Bay standpoint that they don't do something to bring in somebody else, whether that is, Jamal Williams back, which you still could possibly trust AJ Dillon. But if they go out and get somebody else to make it kind of interesting, that would be kind of weird to see. I know what to trust from Green Bay, and it's the passing game, and like the running game is just you're going to get what you get from outside from in between the 20s. But when it's red zone, like you can't rely on that guy to just take all the equity there.
I don't know, because if you look at Aaron Jones, if you look at the last 2 years, Aaron Jones in 2019 was third among all running back and goal line carries with 12. That was the year he had 19 touchdowns. And then last year he was 7th or 8th in goal line carries among all running backs. So, he got up, and that's not even counting the other running backs, like Jamal Williams coming in and taking some of those opportunities away from him. So he was third this year as well. So to say that he doesn't get any goal line opportunities and they're just looking to pass, I don't think is really accurate. He's up there with the top guys. And when you're talking about like the difference between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, when you're talking about 250-pound running back, like AJ Dillon does have a lot of Derrick Henry-esque qualities to him. Like his burst and speed for a running back, his size is fucking insane. They are very comparable in a lot of those ways. Now, I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, no, but I think that he's probably better than people are giving him credit for. I know a lot of fans community hated him last year, and we all shit on the Packers for taking him when they had Aaron Jones, and I get all that. But like you cannot deny, because we want running backs and elite offenses with elite quarterbacks because of their opportunity to get goal line opportunities and score touchdowns. And AJ Dillon is going to have that in spades with this. And if they don't bring anybody else in, maybe they draft somebody. Maybe they stick with Tyler Ervin. I don't know what they're going to do. But if they don't, AJ Dillon is going to could see 250, 280, 300 carries next year in a Aaron Rodgers led offense. So I get both sides of it, because like, to me, I hate running backs that don't have any pass catching upside just as much as anybody else. I hate them, and that's why I've never drafted, and I'm not a huge fan of Derrick Henry because of that. But I do think if he falls in the right range, I think I could be really interested in AJ Dillon.
Yeah, Aaron Jones had a great 2019 campaign with the 16 touchdowns. That was wheels up for him, and we all love him for that year. But he only had 9 rushing touchdowns last year, Kev. So even with seeing those opportunities in the red zone, I mean, yes, you do like to see that, but that still doesn't mean that those are necessarily equating into scores, so to speak. And like, Matty was alluding to, they do love to pass the ball when they get on the one. Is Aaron Rodgers going to rush it? I think there could be situations like if you're not going to get that 100-yard rushing out of A.J. Dillon, like consistently, like we pretty much see from Derrick Henry, and like a red zone usage that is going to equate in, scoring every other game or, get him to a 9-10 threshold mark, that's going to be scary for where you're going to be taking him, just because people are going to look at the situation. Oh, I know this offense scores points. Oh, I know he's the only guy there, so I'm going to take him. And it's like, well, that might not really pay the dividends off that you necessarily expect.
The other thing I will say that has me just slightly concerned if Dillon gets up into that, second round draft capital range is the Packers were insanely efficient on offense last year. Like they scored 31 points a game. They ranked first in the NFL. Like if their efficiency takes any sort of dip, those goal line carry volumes goes down because that volume was high because of how many times they got into the red zone and got to the goal line. So if that efficiency goes down, if they become, a top 5 or top 10 offense instead of number 1 overall, then the running back position, I think, is, especially for a pure rusher in Green Bay, I think would be the first person to take a hit in value.
Yeah. And 131 targets for Aaron Jones over the past 2 years. I mean, that's a shit ton of targets from a running back. And so, like, when you're talking about an A.J. Dillon, if that's not part of his game, like Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to want somebody there who he can rely on. When
I guess we are
in the running back like that.
We're going to truly find out whether A.J. Dillon catches passes or not.
All right. For sure. Like I think he can be a functional pass catcher, right?
I mean, if you think that, you just take him. But I don't know.
He's not anybody. You're not going to put him out on the outside. You're not going to line him up in the slot. You're not
going
to run all these different
targets, 3 targets a game. Probably.
I think you could probably look somewhere to
40.
2 to 4, somewhere in there. Yeah, probably
40-ish for the year, 45.
Like I mean, look at Nick Chubb. I mean, we say the same thing about Nick Chubb, and like
Nick Chubb is a good pass.
Not saying that he's Nick Chubb, but I know. But I'm talking about Nick Chubb is how often he's using the passing game, right? And again, not saying that he's Nick Chubb, but I just think that with his style and in that offense, like it is intriguing, and I think that. So
if you're telling me we can get a guy who's 20 touches and he has that 120. 100, 120 rushing yard upside, and maybe he catches a pass or two, but he gonna get goal line work like that. That's definitely what you need. I guess I just don't know enough about A.J. Dillon or what his game was to be able to say that I'm a plant a flag like that for him to be a top 12 back necessarily. But that's what you want. That's what you want from him in this situation.
Because I mean, 6 foot 247 with 97th percentile speed score and 97th percentile burst score.
Yeah. He's one of the last people I would want to tackle in space.
Have you seen that man's thighs?
Yeah,
they're like torso. Okay,
they're twice as big as Saquon Barkley's thighs, and that's saying something.
Yes, he is a very scary man. But
he is a terrifying.
I also think that they're going to have to prove. I mean, they literally drafted this dude the second round when they had Aaron Jones, and they got smashed for it. And so this is still LaFleur's guy, right? So like Aaron Jones wasn't LaFleur's guy.
It could have been hey, we're losing Aaron Jones next year. We absolutely love this A.J. Dillon guy. Let's just go ahead and snag him because he's here and we love him, and we'll just use him in a year.
We'll see. I hope the Packers do something with the offense. MVS and Allen Lazard isn't it, and if they can add a Will Fuller, it'd be amazing.
Oh my God.
Even a Rashad Bateman would be absolutely amazing.
I would love
somebody explosive. They got to add somebody.
You know how many times we were sweating MVS dropping long touchdowns?
That was Ryan's guy, MVS. He was the MVS train.
Yeah, we were on that guy for 4 weeks before he had that 130-yard 2-touchdown game or whatever it was.
Yeah, and that was a good week for me. So he's very frustrating for sure, but he caught him when we needed him to, I guess. But damn, yeah, please do not let me go through another season of MVS wondering if he's gonna come down with it or not. My God, those hands. Let's talk about, there are some restricted free agents here with Jeff Wilson and Gus Edwards, Boston Scott, Philip Lindsay, those guys. And also there's other guys who are available. Is there any other sneaky guys or guys who might be going under the radar that you wanted to touch on, or maybe they could, land somewhere that could be interesting? I mean, Kev, I saw you getting ready to say something.
I mean, I think there are a few teams that could need a running back that we're not really thinking of. Denver definitely being one, with Melvin Gordon. I think they're going to need another back, depending on what they do with Philip Lindsay, if they let him walk, or if some team tries to sign him, or if they just outright release him. As those are all things that are possibilities, but they need a running back. Do they sign one? I don't know. But the thing is that there's not a ton of spots. Like the Jets certainly need a running back 100% without a doubt. But there's also all these guys in the draft as well. Like, do the Jets, if they decide to go, I mean, I could see them either because there's still the possibility, I guess they could keep Sam Darnold as well. They haven't ruled that situation out. He still hasn't been traded. And if he ends up being the guy that's there, maybe they just go all in and they take Jamar Chase at 2. And then, they have a late second round or a late first. Maybe you take a Najee Harris or Javonte Williams. I hate that. You don't ever take a running back in the first, but it's certainly possible. But I think there's definitely teams that we're not thinking about that could definitely use a running back. But a lot of these other guys are just kind of jags at this point, or kind of past their prime of their career, that doesn't do a whole lot for me. I'm much more excited about seeing where the rookies were to land other than these guys. Outside maybe Marlon Mack. Or Buffalo, Walito.
I was going to say Marlon Mack.
Yeah, well, Marlon Mack, I don't know what to expect from him. Like, and he's wild because, like, he was such a guy. Like, I remember watching him when he came out, and he's so explosive, and they used him all over the place in college, a ton as a pass catcher, right? And that was kind of the exciting thing about him. And then he goes to Indy, and they never use him as a pass catcher ever. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's kind of like almost like Josh Jacobs a little bit, where Josh Jacobs coming out was expected to be as a really good pass catcher. It's one thing everybody was excited about him for, was how good of a pass catcher he is. Then he goes to Oakland, and they never use him. And so, but Marlon Mack, but Buffalo, I think Buffalo could use a running back too. I know that people in here, they were having a conversation in the chat a little bit ago about this, and I'll be honest, Zach Moss ain't it. Okay, Zach Moss ain't it. He is not the guy.
You know what is it? Running the ball 9 times and letting Allen throw it 55. That's it.
I'm about that life, at least for fantasy purposes. But that's probably another team that could probably use a running back.
Who would you like to, or what style of back would you like to see them get? Because I saw in the chat that people were talking about Chris Carson, and I don't really think that they need to go that route. I would rather them get like a speed pass catching kind of back to kind of, who
would fit in Buffalo?
I'm listening.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, dude. That would be sick.
He's a really good pass catcher, an explosive guy who can thrive on limited touches. Like, you give him
Is Aaron Jones a modern day Jamal Charles? A better pass catching Jamal Charles?
I don't know, man. Jamal Charles is one of the most explosive running backs I think we've ever seen.
Oh, you're not telling me to watch him every
Jamal
game.
Charles is freaking legit.
I know, but like just the way how efficient both of them are, because that's how Jamal Charles was his entire career. Just insanely efficient as a runner, and that's pretty much how Aaron Jones has been his entire career. Like, he's always done so much more with less. So
I think Aaron Jones is a little bit more physical than Charles. Charles is built more on speed, but I think Jones breaks a little bit more tackles, has better contact. Better balance at contact, and things like that. But yeah, as far as efficiency, I mean, they're pretty much in the same bucket when you talk about efficiency. I mean, Aaron Jones can, like, I think back to the Eagles game this year where he was bottled up for most of it and then rips off an 85-yard touchdown or whatever it was.
Right.
It's just like, that's just what he does. Like, that's who he is. And I think he would be perfect in Buffalo. I'm not sure Buffalo wants to spend on a running back like that, but I a guy who isn't going to command a ton of touches. You give him, 14 to 16 carries and let him catch 5 passes. Yeah, and there's his 20 touches, and get freaking Singletary and Moss out of there.
No disrespect. No disrespect on Moss. Shout out to the boy Matt. I mean, the St. Louis Blues logo. We're gonna have to talk about that. But he's in here. He's defending Moss's good name. I think Moss will. Everybody's gonna crap on him, and then just like David Montgomery, he'll have that bounce back. We'll see. I know Buffalo's hoping for that. They brought him in and drafted him. But yeah, definitely get Singletary the fuck gone. We don't need any more of that going on. I mean, it's wild when you're thinking about the running backs and wide receivers that are available. It's absolutely just asinine to think about. So many things could change from a fantasy perspective, depending on where these guys land. Let's talk about tight ends as we get ready to wrap it up, at least from the offensive standpoint of what matters here is what we talk about. And you got tight ends like Hunter Henry, who's available, Jonnu, a guy like Gerald Everett, the boy Dan Arnold, pod favorite Dan Arnold. And then I guess, Jared Cook I see on the list and Tyler Eifert too. I'm not even going to talk about Gronk. I mean, Gronk is playing with Brady or he's not playing. There's no way this dude is going anywhere else to play. This whole career, he's been with Brady. He's won with Brady. Gets in the Super Bowl after doing pretty much dog shit all season and goes just bananas. I mean, he's playing in Tampa or he's not playing at all. So let's at the top, we got Hunter Henry, we got Jonnu, maybe Gerald Everett to a certain extent. Well, what teams need tight ends, boys? Where would these guys make sense? Kev, I already know you brought up the Jacksonville situation there and them getting a tight end, which would definitely help out the rookie coming in there, Trevor Lawrence. But where could some of these other guys, make a name for themselves and make some noise?
I mean, you got Tennessee that needs a tight end. You got the Chargers that need a tight end now because of Hunter. Well, depending on what they think about Dan Parham. Yeah.
What about
Huh?
What about
Fercher? Yeah, I guess they could go with Anthony Fercher.
How dare you, Donald Parham in Los Angeles?
I would love for him to be a thing, but we'll see if that's what they think. But
I think you're burying the lead on which team needs the tight end the most and has produced monster tight ends until this year. That's New England.
Oh, fuck New England. I can't fuck with their team is so bad. Their offense is so fucking bad.
They are, but they've got the third most cap space. I don't know.
But who are they bringing in though, Matty?
I mean, who's playing quarterback? Who's playing quarterback? Yeah. Let's start there.
That's what I'm saying. Who they bringing in to quarterback?
I don't know. It'll be somebody.
Jared Stidham going again. We're doing another year of Jared Stidham.
No, I think they've had enough on their 1 year plug experiment with Cam Newton and all those guys.
I mean, so I guess if they can somehow trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, but then the question all remains: okay, then what's San Francisco going to do at quarterback if they're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo? Because I know there's been a lot of reports about them trading Jimmy Garoppolo there, but what the hell is San Francisco doing at quarterback? I mean, unless they bring in Jameis, which I would love that. Jameis Winston with Kyle Shanahan and those wide receivers and Kittle. Like, pants off, boys.
He ain't going to deal with that, I don't think. Norris Lynn.
Yeah. So I just can't mess with them. I mean, they have nobody. They have no weapons at all. Yeah. Like, the worst offense, and it's not close, of football.
You talk about burying the lead, Matty. Like, let's talk about how they are one of the least desirable places to go right now. I mean, every
time I hear people mock somebody or talk about somebody going there, I'm like, no, please no. No, God, please, no.
I don't want wide receivers to go there, but I'm okay with a tight end going there.
Except for Trubinsky with Bill Belly.
I would hate myself. I would hate it. Don't do that. Don't you put that evil on Trubisky. Don't you do it.
Pajamas ready, Kev. No, they definitely need a spot. It's not a desirable destination for them, but they definitely need a tight end, which ironically they drafted 2 last year, which that's not panning out. Dalton Keene, and I can't think of the other guy's name now, but
Asiasi or Asia or Asi. Yeah.
Asiasi, that's right. With the limited picks that they had. So just funny. I see Walito in the chat. The one team that we haven't talked about here is the Arizona Cardinals, who did have Dan Arnold last year. He's now a free agent. They could bring in somebody, and that would be, pretty nice. I would like to see, let's not even talk about Hunter Henry or Jonnu being there, but even like Gerald Everett, going to Arizona could be interesting. For them, just to get another explosive weapon there. I would like to see that. Trying to think of some of these other situations that could be
Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati could definitely use a tight end.
Don't
have anybody.
It's not going to happen, but would be really fun is if Jonnu ended up in San Francisco and you just have the four greatest yards after catch guys, fucking Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, and Jonnu all on the same field at the same time.
Then maybe they do need to consider bringing Jameis to San Fran, because that's 5,000 yards right there.
Yeah, that would be sick. I don't think it's going to happen, but I was just thinking about good offensive fits. I think Jonnu in San Francisco would be fun. Yeah,
definitely. What about let's just say that Seattle, they end up keeping Russell Wilson. I mean, are we still going to be dealing with Jacob Hollister and Luke Wilson out there, or can they maybe entice him to bring somebody in? I'm not sure what their cap situation's looking like, but Will Dissly, right? Will Dissly. I always feel like they don't have a good enough tight end to.
Who else needs a tight end? Carolina, desperately use a tight end.
Yes. They still rolling Ian Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. I mean,
he's there, yeah. He rolls around on the field. Yes, that's accurate.
We didn't talk about them from a situation, but I have heard them interested in a quarterback market as well, too. So that
is the best landing spot for Deshaun Watson. If he could go there with McCaffrey and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. That would be that would be the spot for him to go to. But yeah, they certainly need a tight end. They are a team that desperately needs a tight end.
You've got DJ Moore who can run any sort of route across the entire field, and you've got Robbie Anderson who can essentially do the same, and he's a good field stretcher too. And it's just like a tight end, having a good tight end would just fit those explosive players perfectly. A guy who can just control the middle of the field, and you just let those other guys just go run all over the field doing whatever. It's kind of like Travis Kelce in the Chiefs offense, to be honest. Like he literally just runs routes across the middle of the field, and all these little fast guys just do shit around him. And then whenever Mahomes needs to find somebody near the chains in the middle of the field, it's always Travis Kelce. And whenever he's looking, hitting guys on crossing routes or down the field deeper, it's always the wide receivers. And I feel like that's the kind of style of offense Carolina could run if they had a better quarterback.
No, I don't. I definitely don't disagree. Carolina will draft Kyle Pitts. I'm calling it. They can't draft Kyle Pitts, Walito, if they're trading their first round pick to obtain Watson. Okay, so I don't know how that's going to work out for Kyle Pitts. I hope with Kyle Pitts, I don't know if you guys have watched any on him or not, but he is like, we always throw around the word generational way too much about players, but he truly is generational. Like, he is that good. I hope he lands with the Chargers. That's where I hope he goes. That's probably falling because that's 13th overall. But that would be the spot for him to go to, would be the Chargers, to immediately step in and start.
What is his – I've not seen any tape on him. I've just been living vicariously through your video erections, I guess, for him and just the talk on Twitter that has been going ham. Kev, what would be his what is his height from a career? Like, where does he stand to go?
I think he could be a prime Jimmy Graham. Like, I think that is kind of where we could be seeing him. I think they have very similar. They do a lot of things very similar. Jimmy Graham's bigger than he is, a little bit bigger than he is, but I think that Kyle Pitts is a little bit more not maybe athletic, but also, I think he has a little bit better, areas of other parts of his game that he's better at than Jimmy Graham is. I know I've seen a lot of people say that he's Darren Waller. I don't think he has that top end speed like Darren Waller has. Like Darren Waller is kind of a
freak. Can fly.
Yes, with like that 4.4 speed. He doesn't have that. I mean, he's more of a 4.5, 4.6 guy. But Kyle Pitts, if Kyle Pitts was a wide receiver, he would be still going in the first round. Like that's how good he is, but he's a tight end. And so there's not many spots in the first round or in the top 10 though that like really make sense for him to go, because there's so many teams that need quarterbacks. And there's likely 5 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Cincinnati. They're not going to draft him that early though.
Or 5 go in the top 10. I keep saying the first round, and in the top 10, 15 picks. But Cincinnati certainly could be a spot they go to. But
they should trade back.
But they need an offensive lineman. They need Penei Sewell. That's who they got to go with. If he's there, you go him. And it would be ridiculous. I know we want to surround him, but they have Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd. I think Higgins is a baller, and Tyler Boyd is a very underrated wide receiver. They need a tight end for sure, but why not just spend the money and sign one of these guys that are available?
They've got the cap space.
Because they have to protect Joe Burrow. We saw what happened to Joe Burrow last year. And so they have to protect him. So I think you take Sewell if he's there. And then you kind of start going through the list. A lot of these teams, Carolina, like you mentioned, I guess if they're committed to stay there, but like I think there's a chance that even Justin Fields could fall to them, or Trey Lance. Like you go those quarterbacks if they're sitting on the board for Carolina, because Teddy Bridgewater's not the answer. It would not make sense if one of those guys were on the board, Trey Lance or Justin Fields, if he falls, or even Zach Wilson. You take those quarterbacks. You do not take Kyle Pitts there. They need a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater's not it. And then once you get past that, like I think Dallas could be an outside shot, because yes, they have Jarwin and they have Schultz, but I mean, come on. I mean, listen, they're just those are dudes, okay? You really want to have a nuclear offense. How about having Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Zeke, and then you throw in Kyle Pitts into the mix? Like, Jesus, like that would be so fuck your defense. I don't care how much it is, because they're going to go out and score 60 on you every game, And so, like, I think that could be a spot he goes to, like low key. And then past that, I don't think he would get past the Chargers.
That would be incredible for Dallas. I'd be kind
of pissed. I think they take a cornerback because of how talented the cornerbacks are this year. But
yeah, like Surtain or somebody there if he's there. Patrick Surtain if he's there.
Yeah. But I would like to see Pitts in Dallas. That would be sick.
I don't think I would like it for fantasy purposes as much, because there's so many fucking mouths to feed there. I would love it for
Dak. Yeah,
like Dak is you just take it all through Dak. But like as far as Pitts as fantasy upside, at least for year one, it wouldn't be as enticing with all of those weapons they have there. But
Robert Tonyan, restricted free agent. I think he ends up back in Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
What about Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle needs help, dude.
Seattle needs a tight end.
They just maybe they'll go Kyle Rudolph. I mean, they keep going the veteran. They went Greg Olsen, Jimmy Graham before that. Like they just keep going with this old ass, crusty ass tight end and try to stick him in there. Maybe they go that route, or maybe Tyler Eifert. Maybe they go that route. But
they should if Russell stays there, they should get somebody who's of notable name to help.
Yeah, Hunter Henry would make a ton of sense.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense
for them. Still there. Even Jonnu. Jonnu is a freak of nature too, athletically.
Russell throw to the tight ends, like he's shown that. Even with no name guys out there, you give him like a little higher tier tight end guy.
That'd be dope.
I wouldn't put it past, depending on, I mean, they're not going to spend up for a guy like Hunter Henry, but like, I don't know how much Jonnu, I don't know how much Jonnu is going to command on the open market. Like, he's never really broken out. Like, he's a much more of a fantasy guy that, because of his upside than he has been anything else. He hasn't really had like the season where he's put it all together. He is, I don't know if that's a Tennessee thing, because like early last year, he was balling the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and then he just disappeared.
Huh? I think it's a Tennessee thing.
Yeah. So I think some team could get something really special with him, and if they really want to feature him. But like, I wouldn't mind Kansas City.
He's going to end up in New England, dude.
No, don't do that. I don't want anybody going there.
I don't either, but I'm just telling you that it's gonna, like, people are gonna go there. They have like $70 million to spend.
I wonder about that though, because of the like so much that's come out about him, about Bill Belichick and the Patriot way and how hard nosed they are about everything. I know if you want to get paid, you're probably gonna go somewhere. But if you have options, I don't know if you're choosing New England. Like, I don't think you're gonna go. I'm gonna go to New England, play there. Right? Like, I think just because of without a quarterback, like there's just nothing there. And then if you really have to put up with all the bullshit that you have to put up with to play there, like unless you're a guy that's like, you just don't have many other options and maybe that's just your best option to go to, you go there. But if you're a player like Jonnu who may has 4 or 5 teams offering you money, I think you're never going to go to New England. You're always going to go to these other places.
He played for Vrabel, who played for Belichick.
But Vrabel
not saying Vrabel's the same guy. Like, Vrabel seems like a chill dude, like somebody you want to hang out with. But Vrabel also seems like a psychopath too. Like you said, he would cut his dick off if they won the Super Bowl. Like, that's not normal. Like, normal people don't say that.
Right.
Dude from Detroit been hanging out.
Yeah. Eat some kneecaps or whatever he said.
Oh, Dan Campbell is the fucking man. I love that man. I love that guy. That guy is fucking a walking soundbite with the shit he says.
That was wild. I believe it.
Actually, that's funny because we've talked about all these spots, but like Detroit is certainly a place that needs a wide receiver. They have none.
Yeah.
All they have is Hawkinson.
They're awful. They're so bad.
Their top 3 wide receivers are gone. Gallaudet, Jones, and Danny Amendola is gone. I mean,
it should be wheels up for Hawkinson, man. I mean, I don't know if enough people are talking about him, but I mean, Jared Goff, like, whatever we want to say about him, that's fine. But I mean, he did keep afloat 2 consistent fantasy wide receiver options and, making some noise with Higbee for 1 year. So he can keep people relevant. And if they're not going to bring any significant help in for Detroit,
I've seen a lot of people talk about Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith going there, which would make sense. But they're a team that definitely needs a wide receiver for sure, too. Mm-hmm. They literally have none right now.
Yeah.
But Dan Campbell's the fucking man. I love that guy. He's gonna provide such good sound bites for next year. It's gonna be so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So
are we not going to talk about kickers?
Oh yeah, we got to talk. Hey, Cairo getting paid out there for Chicago.
No, we're not actually talking about kickers.
Matt Nagy's still trying to make make up for the fucking playoff loss a couple of the past. with these kickers.
Doink.
Hey, double doink ain't no more. We got 5 years on it. We got 5 years on Cairo, baby.
He's gonna be released within a year.
We chilling. No, but before we leave, I know we're approaching, or we are a little bit over the 90-minute mark, but I wanted to ask you guys about your best balls real quick and see if there was any traction there or anything that you guys were trying to do or trying to play around with. And the answer could be no, but I just was curious to see, as we've had some show. If you guys have been following along with the DJ Nation pod, we had the mid and late round stacks come out this week, or targets, excuse me. The targets came out this week. The stacks was out before. So guys, make sure you're checking us out on podcasts and also the YouTube channel. You can, hear all the stuff that we have going on. So appreciate that. But yeah, how are you guys feeling about best ball at this point right now?
It's with so much uncertainty this year, with so many, like last year, there was not that many free agents, right? So it's all pretty much set in stone if you wanted to draft early in best ball. This year, like I've only done one draft, and the entire time I'm like, do I want to take this guy? Well, I don't know where he's going to land. I don't know who he's going to be playing for. I don't know what's going to happen here. Like, there's so many guys now this year with that I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to wait until either after free agency. I'm just going to wait till after free agency happens. And then I'm going to fucking start doing something, because there's just so much uncertainty with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
Yeah, I've just been barely dabbling. I've also got fantasy baseball that's in extreme like a lot of my attention is focused on that right now. So, but
yeah,
I've still been in
true DJ fashion.
true DJ fashion. No, but I've still been paying close attention to like ADPs and situations and stuff like that. Because once the draft season for baseball comes and goes, I'm definitely going to jump in and hit best ball pretty hard. So definitely, even though I'm not actively in a ton of drafts right now, I think it still pays to, kind of get a feel for where guys are going so that when you do hop in, it's not a guessing game or like, oh man, where's this guy at? If you know the board already, then you know exactly where you can target guys. And that's half the battle.
Oh yeah, and we're still going to be producing content, and especially as we get into the free agency period, and even closer to the draft as things start to come to fruition, we'll definitely have a lot to talk about as guys end up in landing spots. So you definitely want to be tuned in to the DJ Nation. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Fantasy Authority channel. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, or maybe you're watching on Periscope or Twitch, but either way, head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, the Fantasy Authority. Appreciate all the traction that everybody's been giving us there, the comments, the likes, the interactions. It's all been great. You boys got any last words before we sign off for the people?
We do. We actually have something in the works that we're kind of working on right now. Talk
to them.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing our first draft guide this year. We are excited about that. We got all the boys are going to be working on it for the next 3 months. It's going to be a huge project. It's going to be, I guess give more details than probably what we've given so far, because we haven't given any. I think the way it's going to work is tentatively I think that we're probably going to make it at $10, which is really good deal, because most draft guides that you buy online, because it's something we're going to update throughout. It's probably going to come out. I think we said it. What was it? June 15th. I believe is what we're thinking right now as the release date. But it's something we're going to update all the way throughout draft season. It's not going to be something you're just going to pick up and that's the one time. Like if you go to a fucking store and buy one off the shelf, don't do that. If you do that, don't do that ever. Like because those get printed in April. And so, like, all the information you have there is from April, and it's just completely irrelevant. Anyways, so we're going to update it all the way through. So I think we're going to make it $10, but we're going to do, like, an early bird special where it'll be, like, $4.99 for the first month and a half that we have it out, probably the first month, and pre-orders and stuff like that. So $5. It's gonna have player pay or team pages with a bunch of stats from last year, target shares, all sorts of things like that. We're gonna have rankings across half point PPR standard, which I don't know why people play standard, but they do, and PPR. We're gonna have cheat sheets in there. We're gonna have player write-ups on what did we decide? I think 200 players or 150 players, somewhere in that range. We're still kind of working out the kinks of it, but like I said, for the money, you're not going to find a better value out there. And, if you guys have any suggestions, any things you guys would like to see, it's going to have sleepers, busts, breakouts, all those sorts of things that are always in a draft guide. But if there's anything else that you guys can think of that you guys want to see in it, because that's what we're gearing it for is our community and our subscribers. That's what we're trying to do it for. If there's anything else you guys are thinking of that maybe come to your mind that you'd like to see, let me know. And we will definitely make sure we try to get it in there. But like I said, for $5 to $10, you really can't beat it. Most of them are $25, $30 if you're paying for online. Ours is going to be much cheaper than that. And I have full confidence that it's going to be a amazing product. So we're happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. And like I've said, our first dabble at it. And I think you guys know, if you've been following along with the Fantasy Authority or with the DJ Nation, everything we do, we put the hard work in. We definitely will not, everybody will be combing through editing everybody's piece. We're going to make sure that this is the best guy that you get. But it's also going to be fun. We're going to have fun with it. We want you guys to have fun with it. I think you guys know that we don't take ourselves necessarily too seriously, but this is something that is obviously going to be a huge undertaking for everybody. We're all very passionate about it. We're excited about it. And we hope that you guys rock with us, as that will be not the kickoff officially, but that will be one of the first big things for us of the 2021 season. So.
Yeah, and it's not like we've never done this stuff before. We've done this stuff for years through the website, through the fantasyauthority.com. And so we've produced most of these topics, articles, content, whatever, every year. Right. It's just, so it's not like this is the first time we've ever done that. It's just, this will be the first time we put it all into a guide. So, I'm super excited about it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Yeah, we're just gonna crush the entire fucking industry and just kick them all out and just
Nice tea.
We're
nice
here,
tease,
baby.
Kev.
TFA
Nice
2021. Let's go.
I love that. Kev, we had a talk before the pod, and we know that your mouth has been getting a little bit out of hand, but you're still letting them fly. Stay true to yourself, Godfather.
Yeah, we've got 2 reviews on the podcast, one for the DFS and one for the TFA pod about our language, and I'm pretty sure it's just my language because I just can't help it. Like I talk, that's who I am. I cuss. I don't think it's that big of a deal. We're all adults here, I don't think I'm going like crazy off the rails with it and like just saying a bunch of nasty shit or anything. But I drop an F-bomb every once in a while. I don't, we're all adults here, so I'm trying. I actually caught myself a couple times. Like, I'm about to cuss. Like, try to catch myself a little bit, but which I don't like. I can't be censored.
Oh man, hey, Anthony Penzone would be much appreciative of the censorship that people are in your DMs and the comments of the podcast saying. But no, I actually made a point to let some slip tonight just for you, Kev. So we got to stick together here. It's the DJ Nation Pod, the 2021 NFL free agency preview. That's going to be in the books. Matty, say something for the people before we sign off.
No, yeah. Make sure you're checking out our content that comes out weekly, whether it's live or the pre-recorded best ball shows. We're not going away, even though it's not football season. We're here to stay. So appreciate all the support, all the love. We see a lot of the same people hanging out with some new faces in chat this go around too. So it's cool to see the community growing and kind of sticking around with us. So enjoy it as always.
TFA to the moon.
Rocket ship emoji, moon emoji.
Hey, Darnell Mooney, straight to it. We appreciate you guys rocking with us, like Matty said. And Tomb King, I saw you in there. We had your comment up for a while. We will be doing definitely some drafts, as we always do, fantasy drafts with the listeners as it gets closer to like redraft season. But we definitely will make a point to definitely get at least one best ball league open to the listeners here as we get closer to draft season. So definitely we're on the YouTube, we're talking about things, so be on the lookout for that. We'll have more details about that. But guys, next Wednesday, don't forget, make sure you guys are tuning in. That is Wednesday the 17th. We will be doing the NFL free agency frenzy. I don't know what Kev's going to call it, but that's what I came up with off the top. We're going to have ourselves. We're going to have other guys from the Fantasy Authority beyond there, some guests as well, talking about the beginning of free agency. Hopefully we get some good spots by the time we go live, but it'll be fun chat. So make sure you guys are tuning in with us. And of course, the DJ Nation will always be out for you. We'll get you some live shows, live content. We're signing off. For Matty Dickinson, at Matty DFS is where you can find him on Twitter, Matty2V2, the Godfather himself, Child Please at Fantasy Rat 13, Kevin Steele, and myself, Ryan Williams, the monologue man, at Ryan Alexander _W is where you can find me. Hoping to get out of here without some technical difficulties, guys, but if they are, it's the DJ Nation. We're out here to have fun. We'll catch you guys next week, but until then, have fun. We'll see you guys. Peace.